I'm testifying to you that this city is a cryptic fulfillment in allegory of all three prophecies of Daniel. And all three of these prophecies constitutes, quote, the three letters M-I-A, end of quote. That was also sealed in, quote, the third seal, end of quote. However, there are two letters of the three, the M-I-A, that are used twice. That creates a total of 5 positions to complete the spelling of that city. The city that represents the place where Yahweh ben Yahweh was said to come unto me, quote, me, spelled M-I, end of quote. That's a transliteration of the original Hebrew characters, M-I. Thus, causing the Gentile monarchs of England, when they came across the scrolls where that prophecy was written by the fingers of that servant, known as, that they changed the name as Micah, the so-called Moristite, or Micah, the so-called Moristite, in chapter 5, verse 2 of his book. They segmented that prophecy of those scrolls, of Micah Yahweh scrolls, to be found in the 5th chapter of the 33rd book of the Old Testament. And the 2 letters that were positioned twice represents the verse 2 of the same book. Now, the 2 conjoined letters of Miami that appears twice. Now we're talking about the, quote, M, the English's letter M, and the, quote, I, end of quote, the English's letter I, the 9th letter. It also represents, those 2 represent the 2 times that Judah was in captivity in Babylon and in the Americas that Daniel described in Daniel chapter 12 and verse 5, as Daniel described them as, quote, the other 2, end of quote. And that particular scripture reads, Daniel chapter 12 and verse 5, read along with us, as I quote, then I, Daniel, looked, and behold, there stood other 2, the one on this side of the bank of the river, and the other on that side of the bank of the river, end of quote. Now, in this verse, the English's noun, quote, river, spelled R-I-V-E-R, river, end of quote, is found twice. And as you all should know, a, quote, river, end of quote, is made of, quote, water, end of quote. In other words, the cryptic seal of erudition, you've got to be erudite to understand what I'm about to share with you. That is, being released and revealed to the planet Earth today, even on, quote, www, end of quote, World Wide Web, is disclosing exactly where the Messiah was seen by Daniel wearing a, quote, 3-piece linen suit, end of quote. And the prophecy of Micah Yahweh, who wrote of the coming, quote, the coming, end of quote, of the Messiah to Miami, who was also dressed in the same type of three-piece linen suit. And when he came with the mission to gather and to capture Judah, the lost sheep of the house of Israel, and deliver them from the bondage of their oppressors, the second time of the history of this world. That means Judah was taken captive before in Babylon under Nebuchadnezzar during the years of Hezekiah, king of Judah. Yahweh's mission when he appeared, when he came to Miami, in the year known as 1979, is also to keep them in his hands, keep Judah in his hands, those who are lost, those who are chosen, the elect that the Father gave to him, even as he prayed to the Father during his private prayer, according to the book of John, chapter 17, and verses 1 through 26, as well as John chapter 10, and verses 28 and 29. But Yahweh had his personal and private prayer. And he prayed to his Father